Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to discuss in this video podcast how to poll checkboxes to see if they're checked so that you can collect information, and that's useful for the emergency management application that you're asked to build in 125. So, without further ado, let's look at that. This is just a quick interface that I built. I'm not going to show you how to complete your assignment, but I'm going to show you the skills needed to complete part of the assignment. You can also go to the Herlit overview and go to the cloud storage overview, and those pieces, I think these are the three most important pieces to become familiar with and to gain expertise in order to complete your homework. So let's go over the checkboxes. Notice the GUI is very simple. It's just three text boxes, red, green, and blue, and a button that says which ones are checked. So in action, if you look on the left, it's waiting for you to do something. If you click a couple of boxes, say the red and the blue, and then click which ones are checked, it reports the red and the blue are checked. So the software went through and found out which ones were checked. So let's see how that was implemented. This is the overview. I'm going to look at in detail each of these set of blocks, but we have a global variable called checked. It's a list. It's going to hold an empty list right now, but I mean it's going to hold a list of all the checkboxes. And then right here oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it will. And so then this right here, this checkboxes, is a list of the objects. So the red checkbox, the green checkbox, the blue checkbox. The question is, where did I get these blocks? Well, you'll see that in the next screen. But so you're going to make a list of all the objects, all the boxes, the checkboxes that we're going to have in the GUI. And then we have an empty list called checked. And so what we'll do is we'll throw in the text of things that are checked. And this is the button event. When you click it, it goes and finds out which ones are checked and adds it to the checked list. And this is a procedure, purple, procedure that I wrote. That's called update report. So let's see how this is done. So I promised I would tell you where these blocks came from. And if you look at the blocks toolbox here, we have all of the boxes from the GUI, the red, the green, and the blue. And if you click on one of them, you get at the bottom, at the very bottom, this block. And this block is just a reference to the object itself, to the checkbox object. So you're going to need that reference. And so here, when you click the button to check all the checkboxes, I've named the button Check Checks for obvious reasons. When you click on the check button, it empties out the global checked boxes because we're sort of starting over and erasing anything that was in there before. And then we go through this for each item in list block. And you can see it's brown, it's from the controls. So it's going to loop through every item in a list. And that's the list itself, remember, is called an aggregator. And we have this thing right here, this item. It's going to take one of those items at a time. And that would technically be called the walker. That's the type of variable. But anyway, so remember back on this screen, we had red, green, and blue. So the first one up would be the red one. So the first time through, item would be red. The second time through, item would be green. And the third time through, item would be blue. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and do everything in the do part of the block. And we have a check on this first. We say, if the checkbox is checked of component. Now remember, this item right here is the red checkbox. If the checked property of that object is equal to true, then we get to do the then part. So basically, if somebody has checked the red box, we get to do the then part. If they haven't checked the red box, we don't get to do, I said the red part, the blue part, right? So if the red box is checked because it equals true, and we know it's the red box because it's this item and it's the first one in the list, it takes the list global checked, which was empty, and adds the item that's in the text of the text box that we're currently dealing with. So red is the text that's displayed right now, in the red text box, red checkbox. So it's going to take the text component of the red checkbox, which would be just red, and add it to the list global checked. So if you didn't get that, we'll get a chance to loop around. So the next one is green, right? Because it says for each item in list. First one was red, we went through it, and the second one is green. So now, just instead of item, think green checkbox. So if that checkbox is checked, of the green checkbox, in other words, if it's true, then do this blue block, get the list global checked, which is a separate list, and add to it the text component of the text box you're looking at. Since we're looking at the green text box, the word would be green. It would add green to the list. And then it's going to do it for blue. After it goes through all of those checkboxes to see if they're checked, and if they are checked, to add the text of that checkbox to that global checked list, then after it does all that, it's going to call update report. So update report will set a label that I call tell me to the string. The following checkboxes are checked with a line return, and actually it's a carriage return line feed, excuse me. And then it's going to go through all the lists in the list of things of texts of boxes that were checked, and it's going to add that to the text box. It's going to say it's going to get the item, and it's going to uh, add a line feed. And so basically what this means is it's going to tell us which checkboxes are checked. So if you look right here, the following checkboxes are checked, red and blue. And that's it. It's pretty simple.